Hello, loves. It's Nina Kovner with Passion Squared, and welcome back to the podcast. This is the first What's on My Mind episode I've done in at least a year. No, more than a year. So bear with me as I slowly ease back into the rhythm of doing this format of podcast. So, no guest today. The guest is actually me. So I know that it's been a minute since we did the podcast with Dr. Nancy. If you have not listened to that podcast, I will link it in the show notes. We did a follow up episode with my therapist, Dr. Nancy, on mental health as we enter a post pandemic era. And in that episode, we talked about what had been going on with me personally. And I realized that I haven't updated anybody on what's happened since that was back in towards the end of May, and it's now July. Um, I had mentioned in that episode that I was going back to the treatment center that I went to in 2007, and I was going back for specialized and intensive care around my depression and complex trauma. So, why have I not done an update? Well, I'll tell you. I'm not ready. This is what healthy boundaries looks like, right? This is definitely something that is deep, it's heavy, it's intense, and it's going to take a little bit more time for me to do the processing that I need to do with the treatment that I received to be able to share any type of insights or lessons or anything like that. If you've followed Passion Squared for a while, if you know me, you know that I don't talk about stuff like that I read in a book. I only talk about stuff that I've experienced, that I've put to practice, that type of stuff. So with that being said, I do want to let you know that I am definitely doing better mentally than I was before I went to the treatment center. And the experience was, of course, quite difficult. And um, also, I think exactly what I needed. So the light is beginning to filter back in. I do have a long road ahead, but I am hopeful. And that is something that I have not had in a very, very long time. I do want to take this opportunity to remind you that mental illness is very difficult to detect. That's why some folks get surprised when um, content warning when people take their own lives. It's simply because it's easy to hide, and there's a lot of reasons why we don't talk about stuff. Mostly, it's not safe. For obvious reasons, particularly on the internet. And sometimes we just can't find the words. We have fear around our feelings. So yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy. It's complicated. It's difficult. So if you are struggling, if you know somebody that is struggling, we have a wealth of mental health resources on our Instagram at Passion Squared, on our podcast, which you can find obviously here because you're listening to this episode. You can also find our podcast on our website, passionsquared.net, and in the Apple Podcast store and all the podcast platforms. But this is serious. And I'm going to continue, as I've shared before, I'm going to continue to fight, and I'll fight as long and as hard as I can. And when I'm ready to share, trust me, I will. So let's dive into a couple topics that have been on my mind the last few weeks. And I think are important. I think are important and stuff I haven't really talked about much lately. So we had a situation in our own business. It started months ago, but it kind of came to a head a couple weeks ago. And the details of it aren't actually not that important, but it had to do with some folks that we had been working with and people that we've aligned ourselves with and that type of thing, right? Partnerships, whatever. Um, Folks in our circle, let's just put it that way. And some shit went down, and I made a decision to end this relationship. And it really got me thinking about ethics and integrity in business. And if you're a client of ours, if you've done any of our brand courses, any of our boundary courses, any of really just about anything with Passion Squared, this is kind of woven into a lot of what we talk about, we teach, a lot of our philosophy, and it's really about aligning our actions with our brand vision and values. And that really a deeper dive into that would be your brand purpose, promise, and people. So, um, and it comes up all the time, right? We're making decisions all the time around um, clients, around team members. That's what owners do. That's what leaders do, right? That's what service providers do. Is we're continually making decisions, and it's difficult, right? It's difficult, especially if we don't have clarity around our brand purpose, promise, and people, and our vision and values. Well, at Passion Squared, we are super fucking clear on how we do business, on how we treat our clients, on um, lifetime value of our clients. And so some of the relationships that we have with our clients, some of the relationships that we have with our team members, they're meant to end, right? They're meant to end, and not in a dramatic way, not in any way, just it happens. But when those relationships end because of ethics or integrity, um that's where it gets interesting. That's where it gets interesting. And so this particular situation that happened recently, I felt was the people we were working with, the company that we were working with, the ethics and integrity completely fell apart. And then the decision became simple, right? Then the decision became simple because it's like, you know what? We actually have no alignment. We have no alignment. Our values are not aligned. Our vision's not aligned. Our brand is not aligned. And therefore, we are no longer a good fit for each other. So you could look at this again, you could look at this with clients, you could look at this with team members, you could look at this with brands that you carry in your business. If you're an influencer, brands that you rep as an influencer, it's everywhere. It's literally everywhere in business. And and so I just haven't had anything like that happen in a long time to where I was like, holy shit, like we are so not aligned. Um, to me, since I started being a business person 30 some years ago, ethics and integrity always are at the top, right? Because at the end of the day, as long as you are doing the absolute best you can and you are making decisions with integrity and you are practicing great, solid business ethics, you can rest your head at night knowing that's who you are, that's what you represent, that's how you want to be seen in the world. And you can sleep easy knowing that. What's interesting about this particular situation that happened is that I believe that um, this situation, the people that we were dealing with don't even realize that their actions were out of what I believe are legit ethics and integrity. And that is where self awareness comes in. We talk about self awareness so much here because let's remember not everyone has self-awareness or the level of self-awareness that you may have in your current state. And I learned very early on as a business person, and I do not know who to credit this to, but I know that this is something obviously that was created a very long time ago. But there's something called unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. And we all are there with something, right? Like I am still to this day I am there are so many things around like domestic stuff, like household things, like I don't even know what I don't know. Then there's conscious incompetence of knowing what we don't know, right? So I have a lot of that. I know that I can't fix like things, right? I know I can't hang a picture straight. I know that like I can't like I'm not a rocket scientist. I know that there's so many things, right? There's so many things that I am consciously incompetent about. So it's just an awareness. And the reason I wanted to talk about it today is because these little reminders to me are so helpful. And I know that so many of you share that they're such helpful reminders that really, at the end of the day, creating successful businesses and successful brands is not as complicated as we make it, right? It's executing the fundamentals consistently, executing the fundamentals consistently. And um, sometimes we get distracted. We get distracted a lot in this day and age. But executing the fundamentals consistently, and part of that is really being clear on the ethics and integrity and how you move about and how you want to feel and how you want others to feel and how your decisions are aligning with your vision and values as a business person, as a human being, how the decisions that you're making are aligning with your brand purpose, promise, and people. So, um, good reminder. And the question here is, when was the last time you thought about what do ethics and integrity mean to you in your business? What do they look like? What do they feel like? How will they impact the decisions that you make day in and day out? Because again, you're making decisions all day long. And so that really was a real big one. And again, partnerships, even partnerships that you have in your business, vendors that you work with, all of it really goes all the way down the line. And that really kind of moves me to the next thing that's connected to it in a lot of ways, and that's business agreements. And you can call them contracts, agreements, policies. At Passion Square, we call them agreements. Language matters. I'm a big believer in the words that we choose and how they feel, how they're received, and the meaning behind them. An agreement, I've always preferred the term agreement over contract or policy, because agreement to me is like it's an action, right? It's like you and I actually agree. We are together here. Policy feels like I'm king boss, the owner, and you will obey. And king boss doesn't work. It's never worked, but it definitely doesn't work with the current and younger generations. It just is not, it just doesn't work. And I know that anyone that's in my generation, Gen X, knows that we were raised up a lot with the king boss culture and environment. And we know that as leaders today, it doesn't fucking work. So the word agreement, business agreement. So I saw something, I cannot remember, like it doesn't, again, doesn't this doesn't matter where I saw it or who posted it, because honestly, I do not remember. But it was within the last few weeks. And it said, no show. If you no show, you're blocked. And I'm all, well, that's extreme. If you no show, you're blocked. And it's like, there's no flexibility there. Is that the message we want to send? Um, we all know that no shows happen for many reasons. Most of the time, they're not intentional. Um, the first place to look, if you have a no show, is looking at your systems, right? Look in the mirror. We're the owners, we're the leaders. We are responsible. So, are the systems working, right? Whether that's your text reminders and confirmations or emails or whatever system you're using. Is that working? It could have broken, right? It could have broken. Somebody forgot, whatever. So there's that. If the systems are working great, then we want to check in and see, well, what happens, client? What happened? Maybe something terrible happened. Maybe there was an emergency. Maybe they just forgot. Maybe they deliberately no showed. We don't know, right? We don't know until we do some digging. We get curious and listen. And the reason why, many reasons why, but one of the reasons why this is so important is obviously it reflects on your brand, um, and it also doesn't necessarily take into consideration lifetime client value. Lifetime client value is a very it's a classical marketing and business term that I don't hear talked a lot in the professional beauty space or in really the small business space. But lifetime client value is really looking at the value of the relationship, of the long-term relationship, not the one time visit, right? The multiple visits over years, right? That is a lifetime client value. And when we are faced with something like, oh my gosh, so and so no showed, instead of instantly being reactive and projecting and resentful and angry and making rash decisions, we want to take a step back and go back to our brand purpose, promise, and people, right? And make sure that whatever response we have is aligned with that. It's aligned with our vision and values, and also really focusing on what outcome are you seeking. And if the outcome you're seeking is really looking at that lifetime client value, then you want to try to retain that relationship. And how you choose to respond to this particular oopsie, this particular mistake, is going to impact that lifetime client value. It could impact also by that client sharing their experience with their friends, which of course you all know. And I'm not making excuses for people that no show. Again, if you follow Passion Squared, if you've taken any of our classes, we are all about the healthy boundary. But healthy boundary blocking is not a healthy boundary. That's not healthy boundaries. That's called a wall. Um, and so that's completely out of context there. What a healthy boundary would look like is a clear, honest, timely conversation aligned with your brand purpose, promise, and people around what happened. We talk about a lot of this in my Awesome as Fuck Boundary book, which I wrote back in 2019. We have conversation frameworks for all of it, for no shows, for bitching about pricing, for disrespecting agreements, for coming in late, for all the things. We have conversation frameworks for all of that in our book. Um, but this is really some of the things that we need to think about when we're making these decisions. That could be decisions around refunds. That could be decisions around redos. That could be decisions around people coming late. Look, we have agreements for a reason, right? But the agreements need to be aligned with your brand. So it's not about the one person that is just an asshole, because there's always going to be one asshole. But we need to think about the 200 clients that are lovely and that respect the agreements and do all the things and share their experience with their friends and have built literally your entire business. And so are we focusing everything on that one asshole, or are we focusing everything on the 99.999% of folks that are amazing, respectful, practice healthy boundaries, are so grateful, and have incredible lifetime value? This extreme decision making is not good for long term business development and brand development. It may be okay in the short term because there's just so many clients that are just, on, you have waiting lists and you have this and that. But that's not how you actually build a brand. A brand is something that's built over the long term, the long term. And so when we're making these decisions, just check in with yourself, check in with your own vision and values, check in with your brand purpose, promise, and people, check in with the outcome that you're seeking. Think about that lifetime client value. And then, yes, if it is an unhealthy relationship, by all means, end it, right? End it. Well, I just talked about, before this topic, us choosing to end a relationship that we had with our business. So yes, it's appropriate in certain cases, but it's not black and white. It's not black and white. And so take a moment before you react, before you respond, take a moment and go back to those things that we talked about. And I think that I know that you'll have a lot less angst, and you'll be a lot happier. And of course, the clients will be happier too. So, the last thing, I just can't help myself. We actually just talked about this in the social news that we do for our A school members. But oh my goodness. So, I don't even know what category this fits in, except it fits into, so actually, it fits into several categories. One is misinformation, which is obviously we talk about a lot here and a hot topic, still remains a hot topic, even though we've been talking about it for literally years. Um, how shit goes viral on the internet and it's not actually good information. It's not correct information. It's out of context information. And that is the latest stuff happening with Venmo. So I got to talk about it. I have to. So if you don't know, Venmo's been planning business profiles for a very, very long time. We were talking about it with our clients several months ago, and they just recently kind of made it official and started marketing it. I guess that's really where this kind of all popped off from. So then a viral post was going around about, you know, almost like a boycott Venmo or don't use Venmo. They're charging processing fees for businesses, payment processing fees. So, yeah, that's what payment processors do. They charge processing fees because they're in business, right? They're a for profit business, just like you, just like you. And so, this is a problem, right? This is a problem because small businesses, salon industry, many industries want to be taken seriously, right? We want to be seen as professional. It's a fight I've been in since I went to beauty school in the 80s. This constant fight for being seen as the professionals that we are. And to be seen as the professionals that we are, we need to run our businesses like a professional, legitimate business. And understanding business fundamentals, especially the financials around business and pricing, is understanding the cost of doing business. It can be called cost of goods. It's the stuff on your profit and loss statement, the expense column. There's a lot of cost there, right? For some of you, you have payroll. Of course, everyone's got rent. You have utilities, you have supplies, you have banking fees, you have payment processing fees, you have legal, you have insurances, you have all the things, right? All the stuff we have here at Passion Squared as well. All the things that it takes to run a legitimate business. What's also interesting, the timing of this for this viral post and this drama and this like shock and um it's interesting is that last year when the pandemic hit, a lot of small businesses were freaking the fuck out when it came to unemployment, when it came to filing for PPP, when it came to filing for um, the disaster relief loans, the grants, and we all had to grab our profit and loss statements, our financials, our taxes. When you're fucking around with money and it's not in your business reports like a profit and loss statement, your sales reports, your expense reports, your numbers are off. Your numbers are off. I'm not talking about taxes here. I am not talking about ethics in filing taxes or not filing taxes. I am not going to go there because I believe that the salon industry gets a really bad rap that they do not deserve. This to me is not about taxes. This is not about tax dodging. This is not about any of that. This is about just legitimately understanding that payment processing fees are part of doing business. And when we get into pricing our services and products, it is part of it, just like the electricity, just like everything, right? So, the thing that really bothers me about this, besides the obvious, that the not the misunderstanding. I don't even know if it's a misunderstanding, but just whatever, the information itself going around. Um, the fact that stuff like that moves so quickly around the internet, and people that do not have the knowledge take it as fact. And the fact is, there's there's no there's no issue. There's no drama. If you're creating it, then that hysteria, we don't need it. We have plenty in this world. We have plenty of hysteria in the world. It is a non-issue. It is a non-issue. And if you want to make it an issue, just be aware that you're actually making it an issue and giving people misinformation. And that is not fucking cool. What's even more interesting to me is that the payment processing fee is lower than Square. It's lower than Stripe. It's like, it's even low. Like, it's low. So it's like, not only that, it's like, yeah, that's how businesses operate, but it's actually a really low fee, which is, I think that would be the share, right? Oh my gosh, Venmo's charging us a really low processing fee. This is fucking awesome. So we at Passion Square do not tell you what to do, but we provide you context. We provide you information, facts, not opinions. This is not an opinion. This is actually facts. This is how businesses are run. Payment processing fees are part of doing business. They are an expense for business. And the payment processing fee on the Venmo business profile is low. Those are all facts. Okay. Fact, fact, fact. What you actually decide to do, it's totally up to you, obviously, and you'll do what you do. But I would highly recommend not sharing information that is out of context. And this was a very out of context share, which again, I, of course, am always thinking of folks that just don't have all the information, that don't know any better, and take this stuff as fact and then go, lose their shit over it. It creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry that's not necessary. It's not dramatic. It's just what happened, right? It's just a piece of information, and this is the information. That's it. It's nothing more than that. And if you are not taking into consideration all of your expenses when pricing your products and services, that's an entirely different story. That has nothing to do with Venmo, right? It has nothing to do with Square, it has nothing to do with Stripe, it has nothing to do with any payment processor. So what I always am going to want for you, and what we practice every day here at Passion Squared, is that you have all the information and the context that you need to make decisions that are aligned with your vision, your values, and your brand purpose, promise, and people. And that's going to be different for everybody, because everybody's vision and values are different, and everyone's brand purpose, promise, and people are different. So always remember that. Always remember that. And when you get a piece of information that seems kind of like hysterical, take a moment to decide whether you want to investigate further and do some research around it before you hit that share button, or maybe ask your business coach like myself or whoever is advising and guiding you. Just think about that. Take a moment before you hit that share button, because I know that created a lot of stress for people that was completely unnecessary. And we need more calm. We need more peace. We need more chill. We need more joy, not more angst, not more drama, not more misinformation, disinformation, out of context information. We do not need any more of that. So, thank you all so much for listening. It's great to be back. It feels so good. If you like these What's on My Mind, these solo episodes, please let us know. Share a review on Apple Podcasts, slide into our DMs at Passion Squared. We're always looking for your feedback and how you feel about what you're getting from us. It's just so, so important. Your experience with us matters more than anything. And so we are always open and so grateful when you share it with us, as well as when you share it with your friends. We'll be back soon with another new episode. Thank you so much. You can find us on Instagram at Passion Squared, Facebook at Passion Squared, our website, passionsquared.net, and of course, this, our People, Passion, Purpose podcast, and also our ACE School for salon owners, independent stylists, and suite owners is opening for new members. We open a few times a year. We open July 12th through the 23rd. And if you are looking for an inclusive, kind, compassionate, healthy boundary, small, intimate, wise context type of coaching and community and access to me 6 days a week to help guide you through the challenges and the joys and the victories and the education that you feel you need to continue to grow and realize your dreams, you can find us. Find A School at passionsquared.net/A dash school. Thank you so much for listening. Have a beautiful day. And remember, be where your feet are. You are so loved. Thanks for listening. Bye.